Hello friends, welcome to all of you Shiksha 360. Today basically we have discussed regarding the chapter number 6, that is database management system. So this is the part 1. Very interesting topic. In the initial session we will discuss some basic difference regarding that, what is DBMS and the other systems. And later on we have to discuss, like in the end of the first session we will start our models, DBMS, okay, like ER relationship model, entity relationship model we have to discuss in this session. Very, very important and easy for the examination point of view to score the marks. So now let's start our discussion. For all sessions of the IT, you can join our batch, and for any other query, you can contact on us. So now let's start our discussion. First, DBMS concept. So before moving further, what is the full form of DBMS? DBMS basically stands for the database management system. Clear? DBMS stands for the database management system. As the word says, that database management system, that is, we have to collect the data at a single place and later on we have to manage that. That is from the word database management system. Now let's discuss. The database consists of the collection of data about one particular enterprise. A database management system consists of a collection of interrelated, that data, it is to be interrelated or related with each other, interrelated data, and a set of programs to assess those data. What is the primary goal? This is one of the question you will find in the examination. What is the primary goal of database? The primary goal of database is to provide an environment that is both convenient and efficient to use in retrieving and storing database information. Clear? So what is the primary goal? Very, very important. Kindly remember all these points, whatever I am saying. The primary goal of the database is to provide an environment. What type of environment? That is both convenient and efficient to use in retrieving and storing database information. For what are basically database systems are designed? Database systems are designed to manage the large information. The management of data involves both the definition of structures for the storage of the information and provision of mechanism for manipulating. Like if you want to update any information, that is also present there. Okay, so the management of data involves both the definition of structure for the storage of the information and the provision of mechanisms for the manipulating of information. Database must provide safety of the data, that your data, basically no one can theft your data. Clear? They are also protective. Safety of the information from unauthorized access and from the system crashes. The data is needed to be shared between the users. In this case, the consistency in the database should be maintained properly. Clear? The data is needed to be shared between the users, and in this case, the consistency in the database should be maintained properly. I will tell you also that from where they will ask the question in the examination. Clear? Like first question, which they have already asked, what is the primary goal of the database? Directly they will ask this point in the examination. Now move further. So there is one thing you will find, that what is file system and DBMS. Clear? When like you will find in the book the some of the characteristics of the file system, clear, disadvantages. So before moving that disadvantages, first of all you have to understand what is the file system. File system, like that, the file system is basically a way of arranging the files in a storage medium like a hard disk. Like first column, we can say that under further like this way. The file system organizes the file and helps in the retrieval of files when they are to be required. File system, what is that? File system consists of different files which are grouped into directories. Like here, X, Y, Z, T are the master file direction. Clear? Under X, there are two file directory, under Y, one, under Z, under T. So under these file directories, there are further files. Clear? So if you want to change anything under that, that is to, we have to change this. So it is very difficult to change like in that way. Okay, so this is one of the disadvantages which we have to later on discuss. Clear? Why? Like what are the difficulties which we have to face here? Okay. So the file system consists of different files which are grouped into the directories. So the directories further contain other folders and files. Like we can say that in the files, we are using the multiply formula or multiplying factor. Clear? So we have taking the multiplying factor 0.3, but actually we have to take the 0.4. So we have to change the multiplying factor in all the files differently. Okay, first of all, we have to open the file, then we have to change. Clear? There is nothing, anything like that in the file system. Like if in one file we have to change, so correspondingly it will be changed in all the other files where it is to be saved mentioned. Okay. So the file system performs a basic information like management, file naming, giving access rules, etc. Clear? So this is the basic introduction of the file system. What is the meaning of that? Now move further. Second terminologies which we have to discuss here, that is DBMS. All the topic we have to be covered now on the basis of the DBMS. So now let's move towards that. So DBMS, database management system, is basically a software that manages the collection of related data. It is used for storing the data and retrieving the data effectively when it is to be needed. Okay, storing the data, retrieving, that is we have to be take up the data. It also provides proper security measures for protecting the data from the unauthorized access. In database management system, the data can be fetched. How we can fetch the data? By SQL queries. SQL. Anyone know what is the full form of structured query language? Okay, so SQL basically stands for the structured query language. So in database management system, the data can be fetched by the SQL queries and relational algebra. It also provides mechanisms for the data recovery and the data backup. Okay, so it also provides mechanism basically for what? For the data recovery and the data backup. So now what are the disadvantages of using the file processing system? From that also, they have already asked 5 marks question. Okay, just you have to be understand all these points very carefully. And how they have to be asked different types of the question from here, I will tell you later in the session. What type of question you will expect from that? So first one, that is data redundancy and inconsistency. The same data is stored at various locations in a file processing system. This redundancy, that is similar type of data, leads to the higher storage and excess cost. Also, it may happen that when data is modified, then it may not be modified at all the places at the time. This leads data to be inconsistent. Stage. Data redundancy is one of the most important issues in any DBMS concept, and normalization is an effective remedy to address it. Clear? So how we can address the data redundancy? Clear? This is also one more question in the examination. You will find that. So what is the concept or effective remedy to address the data redundancy? That is the normalization. Clear? That what is that? That is the normalization. So difficulty in assessing data. Next one, that is difficulty in assessing data. In a file processing system, environments do not allow needed data to be retrieved in a convenient and efficient manner. Clear? Okay, so in a file processing system, environments do not allow needed data to be retrieved in a convenient and efficient manner. Data isolation. The data is scattered in various files at different locations. The files also may be stored in the different formats. Okay, so this is also one of the issue, that is when there are different formats. So it is then difficult to write new application program that will retrieve the appropriate data. Clear? Because in the new program, if the files are to be of different formats, so we have to be very careful while for programming the new data. Clear? Or while programming the new application program, that is, this is for that type or this is for different type of the format. Clear? This is also one of the issue. Integrity problem. The data stored should satisfy some conditions before stored in the files. These are called as the consistency constraints. Developers are responsible for enforcement by applying these rules in their programs. Okay, because they have to pick the data from here. When the new constraints are added in the program, so it is difficult to change the programs to enforce them. The problem gets intensified when constraints involve several data items from the different files. Clear? That is, it is very difficult to collect the data from the different files due to the consistency constraints. Okay. So now in the previous bit, I will tell you like in the 2023, they have asked two questions on the atomicity. Atomicity. So here I will tell you what is the basic definition of the atomicity. Atomicity, atom basically. Atomicity is a property of the database transaction in a database management system that ensures what it ensures that all actions within the transaction are executed as a single unit of work. Here are executed as a single unit of work. Like when you are going to withdraw the cash from the ATM. So first of all, you have to put the ATM in the machine. After that, you have to select the language. Then you have to pay the amount, fill the amount. Later on, you have to fill your PIN, ATM PIN, and then the machine will calculate the cash and then the withdrawal process. All these things will be done in a single transaction. Like while going on this transaction, if the electricity switches off, so the transaction will fail. That it is one of the property of the DBMS. Clear? That is the it is one of the property of the database, basically DBMS. That is to be known as atomicity. So this same thing I'm saying here, that is within the transaction are executed as a single unit of a work. This means that either a transaction is completed or does not occur at all. And partial failure are not allowed. If your cash is not withdrawn, so whatever the process it is to be going on till now, as electricity is going to be switched off, so your transaction will be cancelled and the amount will be refunded to your account. Okay. So this means that either a transaction is completed or does not occur at all, and partial failures are not allowed. Atomicity is a key attribute of ACID. This is the full form of ACID, which stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Clear? This is up to this much explanation. We are not required for that examination, but I will try to explain the points whenever it is to be required. Okay. So atomicity is a key attribute of ACID, which stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So here I will discuss one example related to that. An example of an atomic transaction is a monetary transfer from a bank account A to bank account B. It consists of two operations. First of all, we have to transfer amount from A to B. So A account it is to be debited, B account it is to be credited. So it consists of two operations: withdrawing the amount from A account, that is A is debited, and B is to be credited. Okay, and saving it is into B. Okay, so this is the process to be here. Hope all of you are able to understand that. And if you are liking, basically if you like the content, so please share this video with your friends also, and please press the like button. Now we have to move further. So atomicity is important for several reasons. So what are these reasons? Consistency, isolation. Consistency. Atomicity ensures the consistency of the database. If a database transaction is not atomic, so it is possible for the data in the database to become corrupted. Clear? Like amount is debited from the account, but it is not withdrawn. Clear? So that it is to be not successful. Clear? So it is possible for the data in the database to be encrypted. Second one, that is isolation. Atomicity allows the database transactions to be isolated from one another. This means that other threads of control accessing the database will either see all of the changes or none of the changes. Okay. So either basically it means that other threads of the control assessing the database will see either all of the changes or the none of the changes. Application. So where atomicity is important for application that want to update multiple records in one database in a single logical action, or update two related databases in a single logical action. Okay. So atomicity is important for application that want to update multiple records either in one database in a single logical action, or update two related databases in a single logical action. So these are some of the factors here which we have to discuss. So I think all of you are now able to understand what is the meaning of the atomicity. It is one of the features. So atomicity problem, it is under which? It is basically problem under the file processing system. So atomicity is one of the very critical requirement of a DBMS. All or none is the way atomicity is explained. Data should always be in consistent stage, even if any failure occurs. A transaction set of commands should be completely applied or not applied at all. This is called as atomic. This point they have already asked in the examination. Clear? A transaction set of commands, either it will be completed or it will be completely cancelled. Should be completely applied or not applied at all. This is called as atomic. It is very crucial in case of money exchange, like ATM, one of the examples. This is very difficult to ensure this property in a conventional processing file system. Atomicity, we have to discuss in detail. So concurrency problem. In many applications, it is very essential that multiple users access and updates the same data simultaneously. The concurrent updates may result in inconsistent data. So system should have some supervision mechanism in the concurrency control. This is also very difficult in the file processing system. Clear? That is concurrency problem, continuously updation of the data. Security problem. Not every user of the database system should be able to access all the data. There is always sensitive data stored in the database, such as pay, account balance, etc. So in the file processing system, application programs are added to the system in an ad hoc manner so that it becomes difficult to enforce such a security constraints. Clear? So in the file processing system, it is also difficult to enforce the security constraints. That is safety of the data. It is not, we can say that there is not that much safety in the file processing system. So we have also to move towards a database management system. So database management system takes care of all these drawbacks of the file processing system. So Hadoop uses HDFS, that is a Hadoop file system that negates these issues, that tackle all these issues, and it is a bedrock of big data today. Clear? And it is a bedrock of big data today. What is the meaning of big data today? What is the meaning of big data? Clear? So I will also tell you. So HDFS, here one word, that is HDFS stands for, sometime in the examination they will ask what is the full form of that. HDFS basically stands for the Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, Hadoop distributed file system. Clear? Distributed file system. Okay, hope all of you are able to understand up to this much point. Now next one, that is the data independence. So data independence, what is the meaning of that? So a major purpose of the database system is to provide users with an abstract view of the data. This is that the system hides certain details of how the data are to be stored and maintained. Okay. It means that all the data, it is not to be showed in a single instance. It depends, clear, which data we have to show to which authority. So data abstraction. Data should be maintained in the system in such a way that it should be retrieved efficiently and according to your power. Like you have, like in the bank, clerk, officer. So there are some type of the data which can be accessible by all the three. And there is some type of the data which can be accessible by both these. And there is also some type of data that which can be accessible by the manager. Clear? That is the same thing they are saying here. So first of all, that is data abstraction. Data should be maintained in the system in such a form that it should be retrieved efficiently. This leads to complex designing of the database. This leads to the complex designing of the database. Not all the user of the database should be aware of the complexity of the data. This is achieved through several levels of abstraction to simplify the user's interaction with the system. Okay. Should be aware of the complexity of the data and how this is achieved through the several level of abstraction to simplify users' interaction with the system. That is data abstraction. Second one, that is a physical level. What is the meaning of that? The lowest level of abstraction describes how the data are actually stored. That is to be comes under the physical level. At the physical level, complex low-level data structures are described in detail. Database administrators should be aware of certain details of the physical organization of the data. Clear? So database administrators should be aware of certain details of the physical organization of the data. Next one, that is the logical level. First of all, it is the physical level. Third, next one, that is the logical level. The next higher level of abstraction describes what data are stored in the database and the relationships among those data. Clear? First of all, we have to understand the data stored. Now, in the next step, we have to also understand what are the relationships between the data stored. The logical level of abstraction, it is used by the database administrators who decide what information to be kept in the database. Clear? That is the logical level. Next one, that is the view level. The highest level of abstraction describes only part of the entire database. In a very large database, it may happen that the requirement of that part, it may happen that the requirement part of data is to be extracted from more than one data file. So user is not concerned with this information. Okay. So the highest level of abstraction describes only part of the entire database, only part of the entire database. In a very large database, it may happen that the required part of the data to be extracted from more than one data file. And user is not concerned with this information. The user is not concerned with this. So data independence and how the data is stored. Data abstraction, physical level, that is the lowest level. Next level, that is the logical level. Highest level, that is the view level. Okay, that is to be comes under the data independence. And you will also find questions from that. And what type of question they will ask, I will cover all the question in the group. Clear? I will share after the session. Next one, that is the data models. Very, very important. And in this session, we will discuss only one data model, that is the entity relationship data model. Very basic thing. That is entity relationship data model, I will tell you. So data model defines how the logical structure of a database is modeled. Data models are fundamental entities to introduce abstraction in a database management system. Data models define how the data is connected to each other and how they are processed and stored inside the system. The very first data model could be the flat data models, that is HDFS, which we have covered here, that is the Hadoop distributed file system, where all the data used to be kept in the same plane. Earlier data models were not scientific, so hence they were prone to introduce lot of duplication and update anomalies. So now the latest, that is ER model, entity relationship model. So first of all, here, what is the meaning of the entity? Entity, it is, we can say that like a physical, or we can say that object. And how the entity is to be represented? Entity is to be represented by the rectangular, or we can say that square. And relationship, it is to be represented by the time. So you have to be also understand the representation of that. This is the standard representation. Okay, so entity relationship model, it is based on the notion level of real world entities and the relationship among them. Like student, it is a entity. So here, ER model, it is best used for the conceptual design of a database. ER model, it is basically based on the entities and their attributes. Attributes, basically, we can say that like their characteristics. Characteristics. A relationship among those entities. Okay. So now let's understand here. So entity, it is to be represented here by the rectangle, a relationship by the diamond, and entity. Attribute, it is to be represented by like this oval shape. Okay, so what is entity? Like we can say that like a student. So an entity in a year model is a real world entity having properties called attributes like student. So student have different characteristics. That is to be known as the attributes. So every attribute, it is defined by it's a set of values called domain. Like characteristics like age, sex. Okay, so like different things like name. Okay, so for example, in a school database, a student, it is to be considered as an entity. So student has various attributes like name, age, class, etc. That is to be known as, okay. So entity having properties called the attributes, and every attribute, it is clearly defined by a set of values called the domain. Hope you are able to understand what is the meaning of the entity, what is the meaning of relationship, what is attribute. So relationship, that is the relationship among those. The logical relationship among entities, it is called as a relationship. Logical association, like we can say that like force. Force, it is also an entity. Here student, it is also entity. So there is a relationship between among that. Okay. So, and what are these types of the relationship? I will also tell you. So the logical association among the entities, it is called as a relationship. A relationship are mapped with the entities in various ways. Mapping cardinalities define the number of association between the two entities. Mapping cardinalities, either it is to one to one, one to many to one, and many to many. Okay. So there are four cases, that is one to many to one, and many to many. Clear? So what is the this meaning one to many? I will tell you with the help of some questions in the upcoming session. Hope all of you are able to understand what we have discussed here, like what is the meaning of ER model, how they are to be represented here, all these things. If anyone has any doubt, any query regarding that, so please tell in the comment section. And in the next session, we will discuss further. So thanks to all of you for joining this discussion.